Hello again to everybody who watches me. Today's movie is another little film that time seems to have forgotten. It's one of the earliest films to star Keanu Reeves, way back in the day. Like, even before he was in Bill and Ted. This is The Prince of Pennsylvania from 1988. This is a movie that I think of very fondly. I first found this movie on IFC, back when IFC was still a decent movie channel, so you know this is a while back, and it's another movie that I recorded on VHS, and I think it was like 7 or 8 years ago. It's a little crazy, I think, just to think that 2009, 2010 it's almost been a decade since those years. Just for everybody who was in high school from, say, the mid-2000s to the early 2000 teens, I think we're starting to realize what it means to feel old. But yeah, I found this movie on IFC and recorded it, and this was actually one of my favorite films to go to and watch whenever I felt like it. I haven't watched it in a few years. In fact, I can't even find the tape that I recorded it on. And I just would watch this movie to feel good or to get some kind of creative inspiration back when I was in high school, just when I was trying to write, just because it had a very interesting story and I thought it just flowed very well. And I thought it was just very engaging, very fun, and very emotional and surprisingly deep. The Prince of Pennsylvania is a comedy, drama, with a bit of crime in there. It's an interesting film because the comedy and the drama, they don't really balance each other out, but not in a bad way. The film has a lot of very funny moments to it, but at the same time, it has a very real feel. It's a little depressing as well. The movie stars Keanu Reeves as a high school dropout named Rupert Marchetta, who lives with his parents, Gary Marchetta, played by Fred Ward, and Pam Marchetta, played by Bonnie Bedelia. Many people probably know her as Holly Gennaro McClane from Die Hard. And Rupert he's a struggling kid. Rupert dropped out of high school because, as he put it, he had trouble fitting in with his peers, or just fitting in with the whole high school scene. And
Well, genius, why did you quit school? I had problems relating to my peer group.
now he's living with his family and doesn't really have an idea of what he wants to do with his life, or doesn't really have any real career in mind. Just sitting around having life go by. And his father, a hard-ass coal miner and Vietnam veteran, wants his son to grow up, finally find out what he wants to do in life. And
What the hell's he doing here anyway? Reads. Works on his things.
I went to work when I was 11. I was in Vietnam when I was Rupert's age.
Yeah, the hair on your balls when you're 3 years old. He's different from you.
He tries to be different. To hurt me.
his mom is very distant and is not really connected to her husband or her kids anymore. There's a little brother in this movie, but the character gets so little screen time, he's not really worth mentioning. And the Rupert character, he's very complex. You can see that he's got some deep thinking in him. Like, he really thinks about stuff around him. He observes people, and
You like to spy on people, don't you, Logan?
Nobody tells the truth, that's why. Look at my parents. You're the only person in the world I halfway trust.
his only friend and eventual girlfriend, Carla Headley, played by Amy Madigan. She can see some potential in him for better things, and she's that character who tells the guy, you should get out of this town and make something of yourself.
Why does everyone want me to do something? Do something. Do something.
Because there's nothing here for somebody as smart as you.
You're here.
And she herself is not doing the best in life, but she's kind of come to terms with where she is.
St. Jude, patron saint of hopeless causes.
Well, he sure belongs here.
I've seen low on energy just because I hadn't seen this movie in so long that watching it was just a nostalgia blast. The Prince of Pennsylvania is a lot of fun, but it is surprisingly depressing at times. And I still love this movie. It brings out a lot of good emotions in me. And I find a little bit of relation to the characters, which I'll get into later, but before I forget the main part of the plot, Rupert's mom is having an affair with a guy named Jack Syke, played by Jeff Hayenga, and Rupert finds out and doesn't really seem that upset by it, but at the same time, you can tell, like, his family is just in a horrible place. It's a very dysfunctional family, and
Talk to my friend Tina in Florida. Her husband got a job in construction. You won't have to work in the mine anymore.
Cost of living must be pretty high down in Florida. If you bring your kids, that's supporting two families.
So I'll get 2 jobs. Shit.
And eventually, after an accident in the coal mines, which almost kills several of the workers, Gary finds out about the affair because Jack thought they were going to die, so he confessed. And this leads to a scene where Gary confronts Pam, and the scene starts out with him just striking her across the face, and
What do you want? What do you want with me, huh? Did I give you a house? Do we have more than any other couple on the street?
I find this to be a very complex scene. The one hand, yeah, it's a husband beating his wife, but the other hand, I don't consider her better than him. Almost every character in this film is a very troubled or crummy person, and you feel like it's just sad. Everybody's miserable, everybody's rotten.
Roger, my son.
Rupert, your son.
That's right. And you're my wife. And Jack Syke's my best friend. My best friend. Jesus!
And you can see the humanity side of these characters. See the wife, she doesn't love her husband anymore. She wants to get out, and it's implied, like, up to that scene, we never see him being physically abusive, but you can see, especially in the scenes with his son, that he's emotionally abusive, and same time, you see the human side where he just feels destroyed inside, betrayed, and doesn't know what to do.
You walk away with nothing. I don't care. Care. I don't care. You care. No, I don't care. You care.
I hate repeating myself, and I guess it shows the limit of my vocabulary. I find the whole film very interesting. And Rupert goes to his friend slash possible boss, Carla, after a drunken night of causing mischief and even attacking her store. And they start a relationship, and you just get the idea of just how messed up the lives are of everybody here. And Rupert, who wants more, comes up with a crazy idea, like to break free of his family, particularly his father, and to help Carla, and also maybe get his mom out. He suggests to Carla that the two of them kidnap his father and hold him for ransom.
Suppose someone had to sell it to pay a ransom. Suppose we kidnap my father.
Kidnap your...
So they actually are able to pull it off in a actually pretty clever scenario where you can see that there is some brains to this kid, but at the same time, life does not work smoothly, especially these type of situations, and you also see a bit of immaturity in the Rupert character, which you'd expect from someone who I believe is maybe 18 at the most. The big joke is that after they kidnap him and they make a ransom call, nobody wants him back. Nobody wants the dad back.
So what are you gonna do?
I'm not doing anything.
Ma, Dad's been kidnapped. I know it's a big shock, but you have to do something to get him back.
Who wants him back?
From there, their plan just keeps getting more shredded, goes up in smoke even more. But Rupert doesn't want to give up, and he takes his father into the mines to hide from the cops, who have caught on due to simple deduction. And the dad just doesn't know what to say to his son, other than he wishes things had worked out better. And in a sad, touching moment, he says,
Rupert, I love you.
and when the police show up at the mine, figuring out where they are, they take down lanterns, which results in accidentally exposing the fire to the gas, like methane gas in the mine, and everybody just narrowly escapes. And turns out the dad did actually sell the property that he refused to sell after finding out his wife was planning to leave him, and he kept the money hidden in a porta potty, or as they call, maybe this is a Pennsylvanian thing, Porta Johnny.
The Porta Johnny. You hid it in the Porta Johnny.
And it survived the explosion, and the film ends with them taking Rupert home, keeping him under lock and key, and despite everything, the dad tries to keep him out of the jail. And it's at this point that the film, I would guess, kind of ends on a disappointing note. I mean, I love this movie, but I don't like the way it ended. In fact, the third act of this movie is kind of inconsistent or just not as well put together as the first two-thirds. The final act of this film is very rushed and tries to get through everything, wrap everything up very quickly, and I just feel like I feel like a few extra minutes, a few extra scenes could have helped. The pacing just felt very off near the end. And also, I did not like how it ended. It just ends with Rupert running away, like breaking away from his family, and running on his own, and you don't know what's going to happen to him, and considering where he is when he runs away, possibly a fugitive now, doesn't look like his prospects are very high, and the Carla character has reunited with an ex who is actually a trooper, a state trooper, who is the one that figured out that she was involved with Rupert in the kidnapping. And earlier they said that they actually had a kid together many years ago, but the kid no longer lives with them. And she says to Rupert she wants to go out to California to see her kid again. And she wants him to come with her, but at the same time she still wants to be with the Trooper Joe character played by J.O. Sanders. And throughout the film, I really liked Rupert and Carla as a couple. I mean, yes, their relationship has issues and they're both pretty messed up people, but I liked them, and I thought they were a pretty good couple. Very cute. They obviously really cared about each other, and I like seeing older women, younger man relationships in movies. You don't see that type of relationship portrayed in film enough. But she leaves, but it's implied they may see each other again someday, although the way the film ends, it doesn't look very hopeful. And then Rupert, hitchhiking, is picked up by a biker chick who he met earlier in the film when he was hanging out with a group of bikers. And she agrees to give him a lift, and this character only had like 2 or 3 scenes, and I'll give her this, the actress who played her was able to convey a lot with her facial expressions, always something I really admire in an actor or actress. And as he gets on her bike, she asks what he used to do before, and he says,
I used to be a prince.
referencing something his father said earlier about how he dreamed of him and his mother being the king and queen of Pennsylvania.
You know, when I was in the army, I had this idea, this little image in my head when I thought about, raising my own family. Me, your mother, would be the king and queen. My son would be the prince. One day he'd be king. Only he'd have a hell of a lot more than my old man ever gave me. I don't want anything from you.
Yeah, I thought the ending was too much of a downer after all the dark comedy and depressing shit that had been happening. But other than that, I still really love the film. I still love this movie. It's one of my fondly looked upon films. I have a lot of good memories watching it, and definitely would love to watch it again very soon. Something I just gotta mention, because it's too funny not to, is the plot of this movie, it feels a little similar to Fargo, Which makes you wonder, because this came out years before Fargo. You gotta wonder, were the Coens ripping from this movie? This film hits home a lot in some areas. There's a lot that anybody, not just me, could find relatable with this film. Mainly with the first parts, especially with the character of Rupert, in that he's a high school dropout. He lives with his family and he doesn't really know where he's going in life and has a few projects but nothing really that special. And he just has big dreams and does not really fit in. He feels he doesn't fit in and doesn't know what to make of his peers. I find this relatable because as I've said in one or two videos before, I did not graduate high school. I don't know if I'm pretty sure I was not a technical dropout. I don't think anybody can do that anymore. But I stopped becoming a regular high school student when I was 16. And I fucking hate high school. I hated it. Especially near the end, and I get the whole not fitting in with peers. Other than Matt and the other friend who I still don't want to name, I never really had many friends in high school. There were a few other people who I thought I connected with, but in high school you could have never told anything. It's impossible to tell who is a true friend and who's just someone in the moment. And I've mentioned this also a few times before, haven't mentioned it for a while. I still live with my mom, and I guess I definitely would like to live on my own someday. I don't like the idea of living alone by myself, but comes a point I think where everybody just wants to live in a place or just not live with their parents anymore. For now, it's the best thing to do, given how things are with my life, but I get that part of the film, and the relationship with my mom is nothing like the relationship Keanu Reeves has with the parents in this film. My mom can be a bit difficult. She can be a bit hard to get along with at times, but she is a genuine, caring mom, and I knew a lot of people whose parents weren't as strict, who didn't really pay attention to them, and I would rather have a strict, tight-ass parent who loved and cared about me than a parent who was easygoing and never paid attention, who was not emotionally there when they were needed. There was a time, like about 2 years ago, 2 or 3, a year or two before I started making videos on YouTube, where I kept wondering, what am I gonna do with my life? And actually, I think I'm still thinking that today. I've been thinking about that ever since I started high school. It's complicated. I get the feeling that if if the Rupert character lived in today's world, he might make videos on YouTube. It's an interesting thought. I think he would have done that. I think the character would do that. He seems lonely, this character. And he crashes what looks like a high school dance. I don't know if it's a prom, but it's definitely a dance. Where he just gets drunk, invites his biker friends. And some of the kids are nice when they see him, but they feel like he's a mess. Some of the other kids are snobby assholes. They see him as a loser. And people outside working on trees, maybe. I don't know. You know, it's just crazy. I'm 22 years old, and everybody that I knew in high school, like, there were freshmen that I knew in high school, and even the kids who were in their first year there, at this point, they've all fucking graduated. The only person from high school who I have seen or talked to recently is Matt. And it only happens very rarely. I might see him again soon. I don't know, maybe. And everybody's got dreams, and it's an age-old thing. Doesn't always happen. Life doesn't always work out the way you'd want. And trying to figure out what to do is always tough. I'm sorry if I'm rambling, drawling, not coming off as that interesting. I did not think I would be this down for this review, because I fucking love this movie. It's got some problems. The ending sucked a little, and the third act is a bit rushed, but nonetheless, I do love this movie a lot. It's funny, it's deep, and it's got a relatable, real life feel to it. And these characters are extremely flawed, but they're understandable, and there are just some lives, some situations where things are going to go tits up. You're not going to be able to work things out. It's always good to try. I think that's my review of The Prince of Pennsylvania. It's a great, relatable film that I think a lot of people in their teens or early 20s can really enjoy. Keanu Reeves fans will probably like it, and people just like 80s movies in general will probably like it. The only things I gotta mention now are my thoughts on the cast. Keanu Reeves does a great job as Rupert Marchetta, playing a sympathetic but still very troubled kid who you hope he can work things out, but you also know he's going down a bad path. Not to the point that he's a bad guy, just he's young, he's dumb, and he's fucking a lot of shit up. But you still kind of like him a bit. Fred Ward as Gary Marchetta. A bit abusive, a bit of an asshole, but still human. And every character in this film is very flawed, but you see their human sides, and that's just what speaks to me. Bonnie Bedelia as Pam Marchetta. what she does, like, even though her husband is emotionally and later a little physically abusive, what she does in the first act is pretty awful. But you see, once again, the human side. She's miserable, wants to get out, and you're not sure if you should side with her or not. And you kind of see that with Rupert. He's not sure to support her at first, but then he eventually does. In the end, you feel a little sorry for everybody. Amy Madigan as Carla Headley. Boy, she's been around a while. She was in Uncle Buck. I haven't seen a ton of her other work. I know she's married to Ed Harris. And here in this movie, she is just so lovable. She's tough. Bit of an asshole bitch at times. But the way anybody would realistically get, and she is so fucking hot in this. And I honestly liked her and Keanu Reeves as the couple they played, and they were very sexy together. Keanu still is a very sexy guy, but he was a very sexy young guy in the 80s. And I could not forgive myself if I didn't mention this. Keanu has a very bizarre haircut in this film. It's short, like cut very short on one side, but then it hangs entirely on the other. Yeah, like this. Just hangs like that on the side. It's pretty interesting. J.O. Sanders as Carla's ex, a state trooper named Joe. Not much to him. J.O. Sanders is a pretty conveying actor. He doesn't have to do much to make you understand what's going on inside. So, I give him that. He's pretty good here for what Lily has to do. Jeff Hayenga is Jack Syke, the man that Pam is having an affair with. Not much. He's pretty bland. Next to the third act, kind of falling to bits and not being paced very well. The other biggest problem this film has are a few of the side characters are pretty uninteresting, and they don't even qualify to be one-dimensional. But that doesn't hurt the film at all. We still got the interesting characters. If I had to give this film a rating, I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. The good points win me over enough, but the flaws are too much to give it a higher rating. And this film was released by New Line Cinema back when it was still relatively young. And there's a reference to New Line's big successful film that gave birth to the company. Carla in one scene wears a Freddy Krueger mask when confronting the kidnapped father, which is just funny in itself.
Who are you? What the hell you want with me? What the hell's going on here? Kidnapped? God damn it, you can't kidnap me. I'm a goddamn veteran. Come back here, I'll kill you. Get back here, you son of a bitch. Now rip your ugly face off. Get back in here, son. Ah!
And before I get up and leave, the very last thing I want to mention is the movie was written and directed by Ron Nieswainer, Nyswaner. You probably don't know him for a lot of stuff. He's mostly a writer, and here he does a very great job. Like I said, the third act is the weak part, but other than that, he did a pretty solid job here. The best known movie he's ever done that he actually got nominated for Best Screenplay for at the Oscars is Philadelphia. So you gotta give him that. Check out The Prince of Pennsylvania. I think you'll like it. See you next time.